God really does exist. At least in this comic. See, right there. Look at his little non-existent face. Hey, Nachi here. I have my own comic on Webtoon Gang Heir, and welcome to Nachi Comic Reviews, where I'll be reviewing comics submitted to me. And I will also be giving my own tips and tricks on the art mistakes I see later on, and throughout this video, with the little mini tutorial this time around being anatomy related. So, to Angels After Dark. So, basic things to go over. This is a fantasy webtoon on Canvas by Estare. I'm not even gonna try. It's right there. Look at that. But also, speaking of names that I can't pronounce, there is also a group of people that are also working on this, which I will also show on screen. And I'm going to mess up their names too, so I'm not even gonna try at this point. I'm gonna save myself the embarrassment. But there it is. Woo! Look at all these amazing people working on this comic. Now, to the description. Dramatic voice Nachi, take it away. God really does exist. Well, at least on paper. The Governing Oversight Department, or GOD, has always maintained the delicate balance between humans and supernatural events. By eliminating any threat against humanity, the sudden targeting of a young man sends GOD's top 2 agents on an intriguing mission into the growing darkness. Who is he, and what will these angels find after dark? So, to the meat of the story. This is the world where angels and the supernatural exists, without humanity's knowledge. And one of these supernatural beings is GOD God himself, but we'll get into that in a few, which I will definitely go over very soon, for multiple reasons. We start the story with Michael, an angel who's back from his vacation and is immediately overwhelmed with the amount of incident reports that have been happening during his leave. But then he is summoned to the president's office. As he opens his door to go over, bang! He hits his brother Gabriel right in the face. Greatest introduction, absolutely perfect. I've definitely not have been in the receiving end of that multiple times throughout my life. Nope. After the surprising reunion, they go over to the president's office. With some awesome looking panels here, like literally this is my favorite character design. Remember when I said we're gonna go into it? Yeah, this is me going into it. I love the god design in this. Like, it's so simple yet so effective. Like, literally, look at him. Look at his little non-existent face. I love him so freaking much. I love the little businessman. Like, look at him. And his text is so cool. Oh, anyways, back to point. Back to it. He tells him of their mission to go to the vault. Ooh, ominous. After Michael finally gets Gabriel off of his scaredy cat, but what did you think I was gonna say? Because apparently Gabriel has a little bit of a history with the vault, and it does not seem like a good one. Then they have a magical girl transformation into their new school uniforms? Wait, school? Aren't they going to whatever the vault is? Well, apparently the vault is a very prestigious university, named after Solomon, where the students within their walls go on to be very successful people later in life. Anyways, what's the school have to do with their mission? Well, they are going down there, or, well, from what I can see, is for an evil faction that has been more active and that some of the students from many different schools have been going missing. So they're there to make sure that doesn't happen again. When they finally land to the school, they're met with the headmaster and their brother, I think? Either that or a friend of theirs or another agent. I'm guessing it's a brother just because his name is Uriel. And if me watching the show Lucifer have anything to do with the actual lore of the angels and stuff is correct, then Uriel should be their brother. And apparently he is another angel. Ha! I was correct! So, while Gabriel is trying to make sure he does not get caught for his, past misdeeds, they get situated into their rooms and classes, which apparently is to stop a certain student from disappearing. Then, after, well, I'm not gonna spoil it even more. This seems like a really cool comic, and if it's something that you seem interested in, go on and read it. The link is down below in the description, so go do that. So, to the review section. We'll be doing this in 2 parts. The story, and then the art, which I will then go over that little mini tutorial I mentioned earlier. Story. For me, I don't know if I was just being dumb, which happens a lot, or it was a little bit hard to follow at times. I had to reread the episodes a couple of times over to make sure I got the story correct. And I still don't know what's going on with certain things in the story. Like, for example, the powers they supposedly got back. I don't think they've used them so far, or what the calamity is, or they were talking about earlier on. It was through talking to the creator that I was finally able to piece it all together. The intro went really fast with info being talked about, but not detailed enough for me to actually really understand what they were talking about. Kind of like how you're a little kid in like an adult conversation where you can kind of understand what they're saying, but you also don't understand what they're saying at the same time. Kind of like one of those things. So I would love more explanation on things happening in the story, but after that, The pacing is a lot more consistent. The base of the story is really interesting. Having some biblical elements, overall, just supernatural type of things is really fun. There's a lot of different shows and movies and stuff like that that I love when they do this kind of stuff with. The most recent one that I watched would have been Lucifer, even though that show kind of ended a couple of years ago. You shall never be forgotten, Lucifer and Chloe. But anyways, speaking of gods and biblical stuff, I love God. I wouldn't normally say that, but like I love him in this. Like he is depicted as this serious businessman of all things. But coming second would be Gabriel. He has this personality of like a troublemaker and just kind of dumb overall. He's just, I don't know how to explain it. I love him so freaking much. Oh, this is a relatively new comic, only having around 8 episodes so far, I think, from at least writing this. More info can be coming, and with that info, I'm sure we're going to be able to piece things together more easily. So, to the art. This is my wheelhouse. So, first thing I will say is that it is improving, and with any and all things art related, you will improve as you're making your comic, especially with a group that you are working with. But something I can recommend on is more focus on anatomy, because sometimes on the closer up shots, it looks pretty good, but other times it almost seems like they have no brain or too much of a big brain. You know, the back of their skulls and all that. And sometimes the poses of the characters can be a little bit more static, and something is always off. It's a little bit inconsistent. So I definitely focus on this kind of thing. But otherwise, I really love the clothing and the textures and the outside environments. I absolutely love them. And plus, one thing I absolutely love that was also mentioned in the other episode that I did, I love the little chibi moments that happen. I love chibi moments in comics. They're so freaking cute. I should put them in my own comic because the fact that I love them so much is... Other than that, there is this other minor thing that I like to touch on, and it is colors. Overall, this comic is really colorful and very bright, which isn't a bad thing in the slightest. I absolutely love how bright it is. But some of the characters have different skin tones, which I love. But sometimes the color can be a little bit flat and kind of desaturated. I don't know exactly what word to use, but it's a little bit grayed out for me. But this is a little bit in my wheelhouse because I myself am a little bit darker on the spectrum, and even I have some problems with this. But something I can recommend is when you're picking out your colors, instead of just having your color and then going down, I would suggest going down and then right. And I don't know what you use for your comic, but I personally use Procreate, and in Procreate, you have this little ring outside of the main color picker. And when going darker, I would also suggest going a little bit to the right on this little outer ring as well. I would also use the same thing for shadows and things like that. This just makes it a little bit more lively, since skin is right over blood. Blood usually makes the skin a lot more redder in color. This can have the appearance of making the skin color a bit more lively instead of very grayed out and a little bit desaturated. Because most people have blood running through their veins, so skin tones usually have some sort of red tint to it. That's why I would not go directly down when you're picking out colors. So to that tutorial I mentioned before. This time around it's about anatomy, so I'm going to show you some little things that can help out with yours. Once again, I'm still learning this for myself, but I have learned something over the years, so hopefully some of my tips and tricks can help you out too. So to the tutorial. Step 1. Draw some squares and circles, then turn them into 3D. Well, mostly the squares into, like, cubes, because unless you're shading, that circle is technically already a sphere. But anyways. I know what you're thinking. Nachi, aren't we supposed to be learning how to make those hot pods? That sounded so weird coming out of my mouth. Oh my god. But anyways, to make people, you kind of need to go back to the basics. And those basics, I'm making simple little shapes, like squares and circles. We'll get into why this specifically is kind of important later on. So once you're confident in doing that, we can get to step 2. Step 2 is references. I will say this till the day I die. References are not cheating or stealing or anything like that, unless you're tracing it and making it out to be your own. And even then, some tracing can be good when you're trying to learn other people's art styles and other things like that. But as long as you don't make it out to be your own when you trace it off of somebody else. But we're not going to go over that today, because this is a little bit more of a mini tutorial, but maybe I should make that into like a full-on tutorial someday. I don't know yet. We'll see. Comment down below if you think that would be something you'd be interested in. Anyways, so you have to have your references. Or maybe one of those little fancy wooden mannequin things from art class. And I would choose a simple pose for this. So no action poses or anything weird angles or something, I don't know. Because we need to learn how to make the basic shape of a human before we get all fancy. Step 3. Once you know how to make circles and cubes, and you also have your reference, we can now get into this step, which is to replicate what your pose is. To do this, you have to simplify the shapes into, again, like circles and cubes. Look at that, it came in handy, didn't it? And it also now doesn't look as scary to try and replicate, does it? And once you do, you have the bare bones of your body. After that, you can put in the details, put the head and the ears and all that other stuff. You can also do this with smaller body parts, like if you wanted to study the hands, the shape of the head, feet, anything you want to do. And while you're doing this, you're most likely going to notice a couple of things. And these things are very important to notice, because these things make it so that you're able to remember how people are made. Not like that, you perverts. Get your mind out of the gutter. So some of the things you might notice is that most people's arms are long enough to cover the, private area. And these little things you notice can make it easier to make these things on your own, in different poses and angles. Just make sure you're able to make those spheres and cubes consistently enough to where you'd be able to level up your anatomy abilities to do perspective and foreshortening and all that kind of stuff. Which this is going to take a bit of practice, but practice makes you better. So, keep trying. And this is not just for people making comics, but for anyone else out there who's watching this. You're doing great things, and you're going to continue doing great things as you practice. So, for my final thoughts. I feel that since this is a fairly new comic, it can only get better, and with a team of people behind it, I'm sure it will be. If you're interested in the more supernatural type of comics, then definitely give this comic a chance. But I feel like I need more episodes to see how it's gonna go. But for right now, I am interested in where it does go. So, subscribed it is. I just realized how many comics I'm going to be subscribed to by the end of this little series, and that's gonna be a lot of comics to read, god dang. But that is a problem for future Nachi. So, present Nachi, out. Actually, hi, I'm back. I forgot to mention real quick. There is the link for this webtoon and my own is going to be down below. Links in the cards aren't really working for me right now, so yeah. Plus, we commented what kind of tutorials or anything else you'd like to see from me in the future. Because I am planning on making more videos for this series and others, like the said tutorials. The amount of times I've said tutorials, god freaking dang. I really like repeating myself. First one should be out on my channel already. If Editor Nachi finished it on time, hopefully, maybe, just maybe. It should be out there. Should be here, next to my head somewhere. I don't remember.